Hello everyone, welcome back to Making Art with Mrs. Gordon. Today we will be making a textured monster. So let's use lines and shapes to bring this monster to life. First thing you'll need is a clean white sheet of paper. You'll also need a pencil with an eraser, and then you'll need your coloring supplies. You can use anything you like. Today I will be using my crayons, and I'll be using some Sharpie markers. So again, you can use anything you like, but that will be the ones I use today. First thing we need to discuss is texture. Texture is how something feels or how it looks like it might feel. So for example, I can look at a cloud and think it feels soft based on how things in the world have felt when I touch them. If I touch my dog, his fur, it might feel soft. If I touch a knife, it might feel sharp. If I touch hot water, it's going to feel hot. If I touch a rock, it might feel rough. So textures could literally be something when you actually touch it, or just by looking at it based on past experience, you might have an idea of what it might feel like. So what I want to do first is I want to talk about different types of textures. I'm going to move this paper to the side, and let's talk about textures. I'm going to number my paper 1 to 5. And we're going to talk about different types of textures. So one texture we already mentioned was soft. I'm going to write the word soft, and I'm just going to write an example of something that looks soft. That could be a cloud, right? Another example of something that could be soft could be fur or things like that. A lot of things can feel soft, but we're going to use the example of a cloud for this one. The next one we're going to do is bumpy. Something that looks bumpy be like this, like a bumpy line, and it looks like a whole bunch of M's, right? Another texture is sharp. And I would just draw zigzag lines, and I would make them really pointy up and down to make it feel sharp. And then I did draw some textures on the back. I just want to remember what they were. Another one is wet, or you could think of gooey, like if something's dripping, and I want to draw like these drips. And then lastly, rough. Rough can somewhat look like sharp, but it doesn't want to be as pointy, because rough doesn't mean it's going to be sharp. It could just be a very rough, uneven, and very uncomfortable texture. And I'm just going to kind of just draw really jagged, kind of crazy line. And of course, if I would have rubbed my hand across that, if it was real, like a rock that was shaped this way, and I rubbed my hand, I would know that felt really rough. So these are 5 textures, but feel free, if you have others that come to mind, you can write those out too. And then if you don't, just copy these, and we'll use these to create our textured monster. So we can put this to the side, and we can go back to our original paper. So our textured monster, it doesn't need to look like a regular person, right? It's a monster. It can look any way you want it to. So I'm going to make my textured monster. I am going to give it a face, a head, arms, and legs, and feet. But I don't want it to look like a regular person. So I'm going to just kind of have fun and really create anything I want to in this image. The first texture I think I want to use is my sharp texture. And I think I'm going to use that for the head. I think I want the head of my monster to be sharp. So I'm going to make a shape that has those sharp edges all around it. So starting near the top of my paper, I'm going to just start drawing these zigzag lines. And I'm going to try to go around in like a circular motion, or around, until I make it around to where I began, or make it where I make it back to where I began. Then, now that I have that, I want my monster to have arms. I want it to have legs. So I'm going to just draw some legs. Nothing special. I'm going to just use 2 lines to draw some legs on both sides. The arms, I think I'm just going to bring them up. They're going to be thin. Try to put them similar places, but if they're not, it's okay because there's no accurate way to do a monster. Then I'm just going to give him some feet. I think his feet, he'll have sharp toes as well. Kind of like claws. And I think his hands will be similar. All right, now I have my monster shape. You can do any shape for your monster, any texture. The head, it could be round for you, it could be oval, it doesn't matter. Feel free to do yours exactly the way you want it to do. It doesn't necessarily have to look exactly like mine. Okay? Next thing I want to do is I want to start adding some details. So I think I want to add eyes, I want to add a mouth, but I don't want my monster to look unfriendly. I really want my monster to look nice and fun, kind of goofy. So I'm going to draw 2 eyes. I think I'm going to do big oval eyes. I'm going to try to make them the same size. Look at that. That's close enough. I think this one's a little shorter. So I might make this one a little longer. Just to try to keep them close in size. Then I want to add, I don't think I want a nose. And then I want to just add maybe a smile. A big smile, because I want him to be friendly. But I want him to be kind of goofy. So I'm going to give him, he's going to have some teeth, but he's only going to have 2. He's only going to have 2 teeth. And then his eyes, I think I want 1 eye up at the top and then 1 eye down at the bottom. Make them kind of goofy and silly looking. What do you think of that? I think I like it. So now I have my monster, but I only have 1 texture, right? This is supposed to be a textured monster. And the only texture I have so far is sharp. But on our list, we have so many more. We have bumpy, wet and gooey, rough, and soft. So let's look. Where can we put some more textures? I think I could add some to the legs and to the arms. So maybe for the arms, I'll do bumpy. So I'll do bumpy for the arms. Lots of bumpy lines. All the way up to his hands. And I think I'll do the same thing on this side. All right, kind of looks like scales too. But those are my bumpy. Now for the legs, I don't want them to look like that. I think I want his legs to look wet or gooey, which is kind of weird, but I think I like that. So I'm going to give him drips all down his legs. Like he's dripping some type of goo or slime. All down his legs. All right, so now I have sharp, I have bumpy, and I have gooey or wet. And I think that's all the textures I'm going to add to mine. But again, feel free for you, if you want to add more textures, you can. What I think I'll do now is I'll go in and I'll start coloring with my crayons and my markers. I think I'll start with the head. So I'm going to color that really quick and you can watch. And then I think I have another texture in mind that I want to add to it. So let me color this in first and then I'll show you. So now that I have him colored green, I didn't color it deep just because I have some other ideas that I want to add to him. I was thinking about adding the texture of soft, but when we drew the texture soft, we drew a cloud, but soft can really look any kind of way. When I think soft, I also think fur. If you have a pet at home, like a cat or a dog, if you touch their fur, most of the times it feels very soft. So what I thought we could do for my monster is add some fur around his sharp edges. So even though he's sharp, he still is soft at the same time. To do that, I think I'm going to go ahead and jump to my Sharpie marker, and I'm going to start drawing some straight lines all around the edges of my monster. And I think I'll do a few layers to make him feel soft and furry. So I went ahead, added those lines. I think now he kind of feels a little, I'm not sure if he feels soft or if he feels like he'll be spiky, but I did want to add some fur. So depending on what it looks like to you, it might feel spiky or it might feel soft, but we know that when we look at this, right, that it's gonna feel like something. Next step, I think I'm going to go in with my black Sharpie marker and just outline like the eyes and the mouth so this way they don't get lost. I'll do that really quick so you can see. So I went ahead, added some detail to the face. I think now I'll let you watch the rest. I'm going to go in, color the arms, color the legs, and add in the rest of that, maybe add a little bit more fur, and then I'll come back and we'll wrap up everything. All right, here is my finished textured monster. Now yours probably looks completely different, but I'm sure you use tons of different textures. I hope you enjoyed making your textured monster today. If you haven't already, we want to make sure we do sign our work at the bottom. We want to take credit for our beautiful designs. I'm going to sign mine. And please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share if you really enjoyed this. And I want to thank you so much for making art with Mrs. Gordon.